All right, all right, all right. Here we are. We are live. Chewin the Fat is back. It's been a minute. It's actually been quite a few minutes because it's been a few months. But we're back with my new good friend who I'm honored and excited to talk to because we have a lot to discuss. The one and only, the bad chick herself, Vicious Vicki Venuto. What's going on, Vic?
What's up, man? I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad to be your first one back in a while. So.
I figure, as I've been reevaluating how I'm going to do things and all, I'm like, all right, let's bring it back in a big way.
Yeah. Well, I'm honored.
And let me, all right, so I don't know if you know things about me or whatever, but So I've done podcasting, numerous shows for over 12 years. I've done over 1,000 plus freaking celebrity style interviews. Whenever I get a fellow fucking Italian on here with me, I'm going to ask the hardest and most important question of this whole interview. Is it gravy or sauce?
Oh, I hate you. It's gravy.
Why do you hate me?
No, I'm kidding. No. Everybody always asks me that question. I'm like, all right. Well, my question is, what is it? What is it for you?
It's gravy.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, I retract my statement.
Yeah, no. It's funny. So I've learned through talking to people from all around the country the differences. And I've had a guy from New York, Steve Conti, who plays right now. He plays in the Michael Monroe band, which is all around the world. But he hollers at me all the time, and he's always leaving comments. It's salsa, how they say it in Italian.
Yeah, no, I get that debate a lot, even from Italians in Italy. I was like, right. I'm like, I'm an Italian American. Give me a break.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, look, my grandparents came off the fucking boat, and they called it gravies. Yes. I'm not going to argue with them. So hey,
exactly. Yep.
It works for me.
Point proven.
So as I start going down the Vicious Vicki rabbit hole, I knew some things. I learned some things as I start exploring. They put some questions together, and I said to myself, "Oh shit, she's emotional like myself." So there could be some tears shed tonight. Who knows? It seems like you've been through a lot.
Yes. And we did have a moment backstage a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, I have. And I know people have been through shit. I'm not immune to it. I'm not naive to the fact that other people have been through things too. But
sure.
My story and my struggles, I'm very open about, because if I'm just keeping them in and then I'm living this great life, it's I'm helping myself, but I really could be helping other people too. So that's why I'm very open about my life.
You know what? I used to be kind of closed. And then when I started doing podcasting, I learned to say fuck it and be open. And so many people with this thing called the internet can just find out so much about you. So it's kind of fuck it. So just let it fly. But all right, so I came across a couple really cool videos you did.
Yeah.
And one, as I was watching it, I was like, this is just I can already see the future documentaries being done about her, as she will eventually, and I predict the next big thing to make the big time. But you had these classic videos of young Vicki sharing her love for professional wrestling. You're putting a headlock on a kid in front of, I guess, in front of the class or something.
Yeah.
So, and then I see you became a wrestling fan at 3 years old. How does that happen?
Yeah. So my sisters were super into it, and they grew up I think my cousins were watching it, but my sisters were always big on it. And as a little girl, I just instantly just was hooked. My parents always attest to that. They're like, "Yep, 3 years old, she was freaking flying off the bed. Quick funny story. When I was 4, me and my sister were play wrestling, and there was this like clothes hook,
Oh
like
no.
you already know where this is going, on the wall.
Okay.
And I was like, went to give her an elbow drop, and I got hooked in the hook. So I had still have like the badge of honor, like I have the stitch mark. 4 years old, had to go get stitches because I was giving my sister an elbow drop on the bed.
She's getting busted open the hard way at 4 years old.
Yes, so I was immune to pain physically and emotionally from 4 years old. But no, I just fell in love, and I was that cliche story of I wanted to do it my entire life.
Wow.
You know.
Do you remember like at 3, 4 years old, like what drew you into it?
Yes, Stone Cold Steve
Or
Austin,
Okay.
1000%.
Okay.
So it was 97. Yeah, I think. And it was the beer truck.
Okay.
It was the beer truck. We all know that that's all I have to say. It was that
Yeah.
moment in time that I remember. My sister said I was watching before that
Okay.
as a kid, but that was the first thing I remember from watching myself. I remember I have a very good memory. Very photographic memory. So I remember sitting in my basement with my sisters with popcorn, and I was 4 years old, and I remember watching that whole segment unfold like to a
That's
T
hysterical. That's
from when I was
hysterical.
4 years old. Yeah, so that was my first like real memory of like, oh, like that's so cool. But I was so young, but I knew that it was more a story arc
Yeah.
from a very young age. So I already knew good guy, bad guy.
Hmm.
I knew the ins and the outs somehow. I think my sisters obviously like educated me, but my dad like used to like wrestling when he was younger, and he's like, my dad came up to me and told me, that's fake, right? And he's like, I never watched it again. And then I'm just like, but it's not. I was like, it is, but it's not. Like I understood the fine line,
Right.
from a
Right.
very young age. So I always thought that was funny that I was smart enough to like pick up on that.
I was going to ask you that too. And actually, I just see my buddy Gianni is watching. So Gianni was
Yeah.
a fan who's become a friend.
Mhm.
But he asked me before one and done, he said, hey, he goes, I'm going to be there. He's like, do you remember what the first wrestling magazine you ever got was? And I'm like, yeah. Right away, I remember the cover and I sent it to him. And he shows up and he gives it to me. So this was in 81. I was like 11 years old. And I brought it to school. I was like, this is the coolest freaking thing. And everybody made fun of me. And I remember I was like, I don't believe it. Like, I thought everyone was going to be like loving me. And they all made fun of me. They're like, that's
Yep.
fake. How could you watch
Yep.
that?
Same. Yep.
And I was devastated. I was like, what
Yep.
do you mean it's fake? I had no idea.
Yep.
So did you experience that too?
Yes. So when I was in like elementary school, funny story now, it's perfect time to tell this story. So basically the guys thought I was like, all the guys liked me, okay? Even as a young little girl. Like they all loved me. They all thought I was pretty and wanted to date me, but they would bully me, but I didn't take no crap. So one
Rich guys.
day, yeah, so one day this kid was like, you like wrestling, wrestling's for boys, that whole thing, yada yada yada. And I was like, well, I'm gonna be a WWF superstar one day, like, whatever. And they're like, well, you're, just trying to go back at me. And I was like, he's like, wrestling's fake. And I was like, really? And I kicked him in the balls. I was like 8. And
Okay.
ran away because I was like, oh yeah, boom, just kicked him. And then he took off, and I got in trouble at 8 years old in school because I kicked somebody. But my point was, is that like I was trying to teach him, like, is that fake? But I had a lot of friends that did like it. I had a lot of friends that didn't. Most of my friends didn't because they just it was such a niche.
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't as broadened as it is now. So it was a very, very close knit community in my town, growing up that liked it.
Hmm.
But I was the little girl that, like, at 10, my friends would come over and they want to play Barbies. And I'm like, well, come look at this video I made of Lita real quick. Like, and I'm like, on my Microsoft Movie Maker. And I'm like, can you just watch this video real quick? Or like, oh, look, I met the Hardy Boy, like, it's just, they're like, okay, thank you. Like, so it was just, it was very hard for a while to find people who liked it as much as I did, because I was a
Right.
super crazy fan. But as I started getting older, I started finding people who, obviously enjoyed it with me.
So this is where, like, the newer generation, where it's all the ladies are coming
Yep.
in and they're kicking ass. They're an equal. They're finally an equal. Like, in my generation, the girls were still, they were treated horribly. Yeah. I mean, it was like a nightmare. It was bad. It was bad. But where, like, at that young age, you said you knew early on that this is what you wanted to do. Like, was there anything else, like, in your, like, projection of life that you saw yourself doing, or was just always completely wrestling?
No. So, for me, Stone Cold was the initial, hey, like, I'm a girl, but I could do that. And then Lita came around, and that's when,
Yeah.
I have her name tattooed on my neck, and she knows, I showed her, like, it's just that was it. I was like, oh, I want to be like her. Like, I want to be her. Like, I still want to be her, like, I think she's the coolest thing ever. But, it was very, like, once I knew that women could do that, and then I saw Trish evolve from what she was to the amazing performer she became, it 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 further ignited that feeling, even as a young girl, like, hey, like, this really is all I want to do. And then, you go to high school, you figure out what's next with life. And I always played sports my whole life. I was a softball player. Could have went to any college I wanted to. That's how good I was. And I chose a different path in life, unfortunately,
Sure.
some struggles. I decided not to go to college.
Okay.
I'm in college now. I'm older, but I'm doing it now.
Okay. Hey.
But my plan B was always a gym teacher and a softball
Okay.
coach, because I need to be involved in athletics in some way. It's just my background. It's what I love. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a nutritionist. I do all that stuff. The
Okay.
cliche wrestler stuff. But I always knew, like, even in my struggles and in my darkest of times, like, I knew I wanted to be a wrestler, like, I knew this is what I wanted to do. There's nothing else. I don't know anything else. I didn't study anything else. My whole life revolved around the television and wrestling, and that was it. So even now, like, I speak in wrestler term before I was even a wrestler.
Yeah. So, okay, so you get out of school, and you already touched on it, and let's go down that path for a little bit. You end up getting into, I guess that's where you started becoming an addict of some sort.
Yeah. In high school, people are like, hey, Vic, try this. Hey, try that. And I'm like, no, I got a game tomorrow. No, like, I'm an athlete, like, I'm good. No, I'd have a beer or something, but I didn't
Sure.
really, like, I was an athlete.
Yeah.
And then, I've been through some shit, assaults physically and sexually, which I'm very open about, at a very young age. So my brain's developing and these terrible things are happening to me. When I was 12, I lost 3 men in my life, my grandfathers and my uncle, back to back to back.
Wow.
Very traumatizing for a 12-year-old.
Sure.
So, going down that path of 12, then 15 in assault, 16 in assault. And then I'm just like, well, I'm supposed to be growing up, and, these things happen. And my family was amazing through everything. But outside, these people were just monsters. So, I'm in high school eventually. I'm like, screw it. Let me try it. I didn't know that I was going to become addicted. I didn't know that, Joe Schmo could do lines of cocaine and become a freaking lawyer. I didn't know that I was going to do the line and end up scratching my face looking for the, I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't understand that at that age, of course. I didn't
Sure.
understand that addiction ran in my family. Not my parents, but, my grandfather was 40 years sober when he died, but
Wow.
he was an alcoholic. My cousins had addiction problems, many years clean now, but I didn't know. I was naive to it. So I was very young when I was introduced to drugs, more so pills, heroin became introduced. And I was probably 18, 17, 19 when I was at my worst, 19, 20.
Wow.
I spent my 21st birthday in rehab. um, it took 4 chances, and in one of those chances, I did overdose and almost lose my life. And that wasn't enough. That overdose.
Yeah.
I went back to rehab again, December 10th, 2015, and I have not touched anything since. So,
That's awesome.
it took a lot. It
Yeah.
took a lot of scratching and clawing, but um, I'm not bringing it back to this just because it's just my story.
Yeah.
But when I was in the darkest of darks in that time, I couldn't watch wrestling. It made me cry.
Really?
It made me
Okay.
sick to my stomach because I knew that I was choosing that lifestyle, even though it's a disease and it's very hard to break, which is extremely
Yeah.
true. I needed to do it myself, and I know that, and I still chose that over my love. I think there was a part of me that felt like I failed. Out of high school, I wanted to go to FCW.
Okay.
I still have the printout that I printed out in 2012, the printout saying,
Wow.
"Do you want to be a WWE superstar?" That's what I told my parents. Hey, and I was dabbling in drugs at the time. I was like, I don't want to go to college. I want to do this. This is my dream. And they were just trying to protect me. They're like, look, like, we need
Sure.
you to get an education, whatever. So it's like, fine. Shot my dreams down. So that's kind of when I spiraled.
Mm.
But even in the darkest of darks, couldn't watch wrestling. I would read about it
Okay.
so I could keep up, but I could not watch. I could not stomach it because I knew what I was missing out on, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, of
Until
course, of
eventually I got
course.
clean and cleaned myself up, and it still took time to get there, but
Yeah.
you know.
What was there? My stepson from my first marriage, he was a heroin addict for almost 10 years, and it was a horrible situation to watch this kid go through. He started when he was like 17, 18, and God, it was about almost 7 years ago, before I went through a divorce. I don't know if you know the Kensington area of Philly.
Oh yeah, very familiar.
Yeah, he was basically homeless living down there,
Ugh.
and I fucking went down there and I got him out of there. But I had to sit there and watch this kid shoot up
Yep.
before he would let me take him to rehab.
Yep.
And it was probably one of the toughest things I ever did in my life, is watching that. And it broke me that day. Like,
Yep.
it's something will never be the same with me after seeing something like that.
Nope.
And we sat and we talked for literally 12 hours. And through 10 years prior of conversations, trying to have those conversations, it just wasn't clicking. But something that time clicked with him, that now he is still, now he's clean and sober, 7 years. He's getting married in July.
Awesome.
And he's like, his life is beautiful now. And I'm so proud of him.
That's
But
awesome.
was there something for you, like you said, it's got to be you that wants to do it. So what was it for you that clicked, that made you want to get clean?
So I had a rehab stint, got out, relapsed, a rehab. They were very close together though. So it was within 2 months of each other. It's very close.
Okay.
Got out. My parents were like, look, you're going to Arizona. I'm like, what? You're leaving the state. You're too at risk here. It's
Okay.
not, treatment didn't work here. You're going to Arizona. I went to Arizona. Great state, but I was away from home. I was sick. Like, just, it was terrible. Got out, went to California to go become a singer-songwriter and just see California and do my thing, because singing is another passion of mine.
Okay.
I relapsed kind of by mistake. I know that sounds crazy, but I found something in this person's house I was staying in, and I was like, oh, this looks like something I could do. I just did it, didn't even think. 60 days. I'm like, why did I do that? But my parents knew that I left the treatment center because they had called my parents. It was a whole thing. And my dad said to me, I said, please, I'll go to another rehab. Like, I realized in that moment, because I just relapsed on an impulse without even thinking, I was like, okay, I do have a problem. This isn't normal. I don't want to do this anymore. My dad talked to my dad, and he said, look, I will buy you a ticket from LAX to Philly airport. You can go back to this specific rehab that I liked the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was close to home, then come visit. He goes, I want nothing to do with you though. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want to know you. I want
Wow.
nothing. And that was just like, and my dad saying, I want nothing to do with you. That was enough for me. He didn't come visit me for till maybe half my stay. Um, because he wanted to know that I was serious. And this particular time I was in treatment, I kept extending and I was still on my mom's plan. So I got the really good insurance, but I
Right.
kept extending. I was scared. I was so scared to leave. I was in rehab for like 90 days. I was like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. Like, because I was doing good. I was doing
Sure.
therapy work. I was doing work. And, I made him proud essentially because I've seen my dad cry for the first time in my life when it came to my addiction. So that was crazy. And now we have a great relationship. We always did, but that was my moment of, okay, I don't want my dad to not talk to me ever again, so I need to
Sure.
cut the shit.
That's awesome
So,
though. That's
yeah.
I mean, that's a beautiful motivator right there.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. And it was hard, and that's why I share it because there are people out there who probably, are still struggling to get a day and you're not wrong and you're not bad for that. It's just unfortunately it
Right.
really is a sickness and a disease. And once we really break that cycle, it's really mind over matter. You're just like, what was I doing?
Yeah.
So much guilt and so much regret just for wasting a few years of my life doing that, like, but you're not thinking. You're just not thinking, you're not you.
Now, how long has it been you're clean and sober now?
10 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
10
Congrats to you.
years. Yes,
Seriously.
10 years.
Seriously. That's beautiful.
December will be 10 years, but we're getting there. So it's crazy.
So, okay. So back to the lovely world of professional wrestling.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Through all this time, though, early on, as you're growing up, you go through this horrible addiction situation, but then you come out of it and you still want to do the wrestling thing. At that point, do your parents think, well, maybe it's not a phase? Maybe she really does want to do this. Did they ever think it was a phase, though, like as you were younger?
My dad, I think my mom was the one that always bought me the merch, and well, it came from their money, but
Sure.
she supported it because my sisters liked it too. Like she paid for me to meet the Hardy Boys, and like she really encouraged it. I did youth clinics when I was like 12. Like, my she really supported it and she drove me everywhere and knew all the theme songs and all the wrestlers and even to
Hmm.
this day. Um, but I think my dad thought that it was like a pipe dream. I
Sure.
think he didn't realize because back then it was much harder, you
Yeah.
know, to even be involved in the world of pro wrestling than it is today. Um, but once I hit adulthood and I bought my first car after being clean and sober for a couple of years, I was able to buy a car and be a big girl, do big girl things. And after maybe I think 2 years of being sober, I was like, I still want to be a wrestler. I was like, I still want to be a wrestler. I'm good, everything's good. And I remember I sat my family down in 2017 and I said, look, I found this school. I was like, I'm of age. I'm an adult. I'm paying for it. I got my own wheels. I think that if I don't pursue this, I will regret it for the rest of my life. I was like, so I'm going to wrestling school, and they were like, yay, like happy for me and
Wow.
everything. So the reception was great, and they
That's
were like,
awesome.
okay, like my dad was like, all right, like you're an adult, like wish you well, and here we are. So still working at it.
So now the crazy thing is, like, I was like a wrestling fan from time I was like 10, and this was in the 80s. So
Yeah, yeah,
around the 1989, 90, when I was like starting to seriously consider it, because I wanted to be a fucking rock star, and I was trying to do that whole thing. And then when I realized, like, there's like no fat rock stars. So I sold my equipment, but I had no idea there was like an independent wrestling world at the time, which was kind of like, when I think about it, I'm like, that's kind of stupid because there was a whole independent underground music scene. Why didn't I think there
yeah,
was a
yeah,
wrestling one?
for
Did you know?
sure.
Did you know about the indies at that time, or?
So when I was like 12, I used to go to indie shows. A lot of the guys that we know of today know me because I watched them on the indies, like Darren Young, Ref Sean Bennett, Ref Dan from WWE, Justin Carino, Sean Donovan, Danny Moff, Damian Adams, Chris Steeler. I'm trying to think who else. Robbie E. I used to watch. So many guys. I mean,
Wow.
to the point where like when I'm now they're all like some of them coached me, whatever. But yeah, I went to indie shows. I did youth clinics at the one school. So yeah, I was aware of the indies at the time.
Cool. So when you decided to go to school, what school did you end up going to?
I went to Creative Pro New Jersey, Wrestle Pro in Rahway.
Okay.
I was trained by Pat Buck, Mario Baccara, Danny Moff, Sean Donovan.
Hmm.
I was originally gonna go to Monster Factory, which I ended up being involved in later in life.
Okay.
But that was gonna be my initial one because it was close because I used to live in Philly.
Okay.
Not from Philly, but used to live there. I got sober out there. Ironically, makes no sense, but I did. Levittown
Oh,
area
okay.
is very,
Actually,
very recovery centric.
that's where my stepson was staying out in that area.
Yep. They have like all recovery houses, so that's
Mhm.
where I went out of treatment. But yeah, so yeah, it was I want to say 2017 I was supposed to start, and then something happened in my personal life that I kind of had to halt it for just a minute. And then October Halloween of 2018 is when I finally first day.
Now, when you start getting into the actual process of school and all, what was your initial thoughts? Were you thinking to yourself, maybe this is a little different than what I was expecting, or no, this is exactly what I expected and I want it?
Yep. So I don't know if you know Falaba. He was another one I watched growing up, but he was there, and a lot of the guys I knew from being a young kid watching. Um, did the training, did my first couple things, and I remember at the end of my first day, and for someone like me at that time, I was still, a couple years sober. I'm very grateful for life now, but early in, you're just super, grateful for everything,
Sure.
and I remember I was just kind of like at the end of the training session, I was just kind of in the ring by myself, and I was just kind of looking around, and I was like, I made it. Like, and that was just my first day of training. I was like, I made it. Like
Yeah.
that was enough for me in that moment. Was like I actually made it here. Like I did never thought that I was gonna actually do this, and like I'm doing it. And that was just training. Like so I definitely had that moment of holy shit, I'm here.
Did you have moments like early on as you're going to the indies? Like when I went for my tryout at the Tri-State Wrestling School,
Hmm.
I go for my tryout, and Joel Goodhart, he's like, me and a couple friends went. He's like, I want you guys to sit outside the ring and watch a match. And he had two guys put on a match. And I remember sitting there going, this shit's real. And I'm 5 feet from the ring. I'm like, holy fuck, this is real. I'm like, I don't know if I could do this shit. And I tell that story a lot to like Joel and the
Yeah.
guys that are in the ring. Did you ever have that moment like this is real? Like I don't know what I'm getting myself involved in.
Yes. Even the first couple days, the first week of training, like the
Right.
welt on my back that I'm so used to now from the ropes or the bumps. I'm like, oh my God, like the mat burns all over my skin, like, people striking me. And I'm like, ow, like, like just all these different things. And I'm like, okay, so this isn't as fake as they say or think. Oh God, yeah, I was all banged up my first week.
But it's a good feeling.
Oh,
That's
it
the
was
worst
great.
part.
It was a great. I still have pictures on my phone from my first week of all the bruises, and I'm like, woohoo! Like I was like all excited about like all these like battle wounds on me.
How long did it take you to have your first match?
Very quick. They threw me to the wolves quick. 6 months,
Okay.
and that was a very like, hey. I remember they were gonna do a student showcase battle royal. I was one of the newer ones. There was one other girl who was like newer with me, and one other guy, and they were gonna do this big show 6 months after I started training, and it was gonna be a battle royal, and every student was gonna be in the battle royal.
Okay.
They pulled me from it, and I was like, I was bummed. I was like, I'm not cocky, but in my head, I'm just like, I don't get it. I was like,
Right, right.
I'm probably the best one here. And that was just my ego kind of starting to go because I was feeling it. So I'm like, okay, I'm a like a team player. I'm like, okay, like I must have did something. Like, let's just keep learning. We'll figure it out. Like, whatever. Then they go, hey, you know what? You're not in the battle royal because we're gonna do something better. So my debut was my debut, and I'm just like, oh god. They had me in the crowd the whole show, front row,
Okay.
and they aligned me with one of their number one heels on the show, and I had to sit there, and it was him versus Anthony Bowens, who I grew up with actually, so I knew Bowens too. Was another one, and the heel comes up to me and starts messing with me, and I throw water in his face, and he pulls me over the guardrail, and he throws me in the ring, and everyone's like, oh, you're a fan. I was working the people in the front row the whole show that I'm a fan. And then, Bowens tries to come rescue me, and then I low blow him, and then, I'm with the heel, and I debuted as like the manager. So I was a
That's
valet,
hysterical.
but I, could kick ass too. So I was like, oh, that is much better than a battle royal. I'll take that because that was establishing Vicious Vicky. That was the
Yeah,
character. That was
yeah.
my debut of Vicious Vicky, which was awesome. So I wore Greek colors, and I was aligned with a Greek wrestler who ended up being my real life boyfriend at the time, and I Essa Rios leaded him, meaning I copied all his moves. Everything he did, I did, that kind of thing. But we were two nasty heels. It's very uncommon for a girl, especially at least from what I've seen, debut as a heel
Right.
and not be this bubblegum. Hey, like I'm a new wrestler. Like I was just thrown into this role and I nailed it. Which is why people like me in that role a lot because I could be good at it, but people like me. So, but
Did you
yeah,
did you ever think of doing like was there any of the shows like I know Tough Enough was before that, but like
yeah.
any of those style shows going on then? Like did you think about doing those or
I don't really think there was
I don't think
anything.
so either.
Yeah, the only thing was I did get a tryout early, very early in. Probably I was probably 8 months in at that time, and I was like, "What?"
Really?
Yeah, yeah, and my coach at the time was just about to be hired as a producer for them.
Okay.
So he was like, "How'd you get this?" And I was like, because he would have never thrown me to the wolves if I wasn't ready. That's
Right.
that's a good coach. Um, and I was like, I just applied on the website. Like, apply now. I just sent my shit in. I was like, screw it. What do I got to lose? And they called me, and I was like,
Oh
I
shit.
did. It's like I was in that stage where I always had darker hair. Like I have my little highlights in there now, but I always had darker hair. So I dyed my hair blonde because I thought they wanted blondes.
Uh,
I didn't have it. I mean,
yeah,
like there was something to me, but I didn't find Vicious Vicky yet. So
sure.
I was really early in. Um, I was number one, so I had to go first for everything.
Oh,
Promo. Luckily, I'm a good talker. That's my strong suit is a promo, so I wasn't really nervous about that, and I did pretty well, and I used my real life, addiction and all that shit. But
sure.
um, but yeah, I was just like, shit. I'm like 8 months in. I'm like, oh my God. Like, what is happening? So now I'm like begging for a second one. I'm like, come on, man. Ugh.
But still, excuse me. That has to that early on, getting that experience, it's almost like you kind of know what to expect now.
Yeah.
So now when that second time comes around, with all the experience you have now,
Oh God, for sure. I've inquired about it. I'm really pushing for it. It's hard. A lot of the
sure.
superstars there now have even said the first one's easy, the second one's really hard to get, which I understand.
Yeah.
It just is. But I have a lot of loyal fans. I have a lot of people like really pushing for me in different places. So I'm really trying. It's one of those things where I got into it and I'm like I was younger, not much, but I was younger. I was a little bit more peppy. Um, and I'm like, I'm just like, I am definitely gonna make it. I was like, I know it. I have the passion for it more than most of the people I see, I wasn't some. This is no mock, but I wasn't any. I didn't watch Total Divas and go, oh, I want to be a wrestler. Like
Right.
no mock to people. It's just it's so embedded into my soul, and I respect it. I respect the business, and I respect the mystique behind it that we're kind of shying away from, unfortunately. Which is fine. Things evolve, but having all of that in me, I feel like I'd make a really good pick, but it's just a matter of right place, right time, right person, and what they're looking for, I guess.
But hey, it's going to happen. I just have this feeling. I mean, I was seeing stuff online, and I didn't know you from Adam up until a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was seeing stuff online, and when I started putting that show together, I went right away to Missy and I talked to Missy about what I was doing, and she gave me her championship match, which
Yeah.
I knew about for whatever it was, 6 to 8 months in advance. And I kept saying to myself, because I had the match, the original thing with Tessa was supposed to be, it was going to be a 3-way with Tessa versus Samantha Starr, Baby
Mm-hmm.
Doll's daughter,
Yep.
and Terry Gordy's daughter, Miranda Gordy.
Yes.
Miranda pulled out first. She has like a business or something, and she had something very important for her business. She couldn't do it, so she pulled out. So we're like, all right, screw it. We're just going to have the two of them. And then literally, I had gotten to Philly that Thursday afternoon, and I went out. I was staying with my niece, and my niece took me out to dinner, and I get back from dinner, and I sit down, and Joel texts me, Samantha's out. What can you do? Who do we got? I was like, give me 5 minutes. And I right away, I text Missy. I said, Vicious Vicky, I need her. Is she available? And she's like, give me 2 minutes. And then she got right back to me. And I kept saying to myself, if a spot opens up, I want Vicky on this fucking show.
Thank you.
And it ended up being the perfect spot with Tessa. How was it for you working that match with her? I've heard everybody came to me afterwards, and they just like, that was the match. That was the match.
Yeah. So for me, she's been a bucket list for a long time. So that like I love talking about this stuff. And I can because I'm just open, but you know, we went to work and I tested myself being in the ring with someone of her caliber. It's no argument whatsoever to say she's literally one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Absolutely.
Male or female, there's not a question. The girl is just absolutely phenomenal, elevates everyone she's in the ring with. Star. So to be in the ring with her and to keep up and to show, hey, you know what? Like I can hang with these people. I can do this. Like this is what I worked for. It was to be in the ring with someone of that caliber. When I came through the curtain afterwards, I bawling crying. Bawling crying because that's how I know I love it so much because I knew it was a good match. I knew it was a good match. Two, having her bring out stuff in me, and three, it being a bucket list. It was someone that I wanted to share the ring with, and I finally had that moment, and it was on a whim. It wasn't even planned. It was just like, hey, when Missy called me, she goes, hey, are you free Saturday? And I had another show, as you know, I double shotted.
Yep.
And I said, depends who's asking. And she said, Tessa Blanchard. I was like, done. I was like, I'll be there. I was like, not even a question. I'll figure it out. I was like, I will be there. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I was all over that. So
when I saw you come back through the curtain, it choked me up. I was like, yeah, that was fucking awesome. It really was.
Yeah. And it got a really good reception. Everybody is really like freaking all over it. There's fan footage on social media. People are going crazy about it.
I saw somebody, I don't know how the hell they got the match online, and there's 15,000 views of it.
Yep. So it drew attention for sure, which is what you want, especially for someone like me who's on a lower tier. I want to be able to show that I can hang with literally one of the best wrestlers in the world, and she was great. She taught me a lot, and I really hope to do it again, maybe at TNA.
There you go. So, all right, let's rewind a little bit though,
Yeah.
because you really, uh, 6 months prior to that, you really set the the rest. It wasn't even just the indie wrestling world; it was the wrestling world itself, because it was all over the place when you did your breakdown in the ring,
Yeah.
and I saw that, and I'm like, wow, this is good. And then when I saw you, when you took your teeth out, I said, "Holy fuck, shit just got real." Because that just fucking put it over beyond belief. I'm like, this is like fucking hardcore, man. This is
Yeah.
deep. This is a really deep fucking thing. And the I mean, you saw the fucking buzz like crazy.
Yeah.
What was it when you were doing that? Like, I mean, that was purely from the fucking heart.
Oh God. Yeah. That moment was pulled from such real life because in that moment in time, I was really down.
Sure.
I wasn't sure where I was going with wrestling. I had gained some weight, which wasn't really anything significant, but for me, I felt
Hmm.
it in the ring. I was getting bitter. Um, Never nasty to people. That's just not how I am. But like,
Sure.
just bitter. Very like, man. Like, I really thought that I was going to be like signed by now.
Yeah.
Um, and feeling those emotions on top of loving pro wrestling and loving
Mhm.
the theatrics behind it. I said, you know what? Let's let's do something with this. I did have help from somebody, who's a Hall of Famer who really helped me. I don't know if I'm gonna say names or not, but
No,
really
that's okay.
helped me with. I was like, you might be very familiar with him. Really helped me with a lot of it. So I do owe a lot to him for that. But um,
Is it like a brother or something to me? Okay,
yeah,
says it all.
um,
Tell him I said he's a fucking asshole.
yeah.
Because I haven't talked to him in 20 years, but I've
I'm
talked to
sure.
Devon, but I haven't talked to him.
Uh, but very helpful, very helpful. And
Yeah.
it indie wrestling, and again, I'm very open and honest. Indie wrestling is really hard when you're creative. And I've been a demon. I've been the Jersey girl. I've been the heel. I've been the baby. I've been the girl having a breakdown. I've been,
Right.
I I have so many ideas, and I have so much creative juices flowing and
Hmm.
range, and it's very hard to tell. And maybe I'm wrong. I would probably be told by that person, no, you could have did more with it, or you could, whatever. But it's very hard when you have this story set in stone, and then the next weekend, and it was on me. I should have never did it. I should, but I was just so eager to put something quality out there.
Right.
Um, but the next weekend, I had a really big show, biggest show I've ever had in my life,
Well,
and I couldn't pull off it. I couldn't tell the promoters, hey, I just did this thing last week. Can I, like,
right.
you know what I mean? So it put me in a spot, and I kind of, I've to anyone who's watching who may have seen that, I've lived up to the breakdown. I've lived up to. I had a breakdown. You know what? Now I'm the bad chick. Now I do what I want when I want. You love me or hate me. It is what it is. I've learned that I love wrestling, and nothing's going to take me away from it. I had a weak moment in my life, and I'm rebuilding. I've rebuilt myself to the best version of myself after that. So either way you look at it, there's a story that was told.
Sure.
I wanted to do more with it, but when you go from promotion A to promotion B, C, D, E, F,
Yeah.
G, hey, you're vicious Vicky today. Hey, you're a good guy today. Hey, you're a bad guy today. Hey, you're this today. Hey, it's like so that's my only gripe. I want to tell a story on a platform bigger than the indies. I'm grateful for the indies, but I would do anything to be able to be me and tell
Yeah.
that story to a broader audience.
Something like that. I mean, it's scary. Look what you did with something that wasn't fucking televised. The,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I probably learned with ECW is how important the power of television is.
Yeah.
And the fact that you did what you did with just, the video footage of the show, people's cameras, it's if that was an actual, WWE,
Yeah.
NXT, TNA, etc., that would have fucking been unbelievably blown up.
Yep. Yep. And it sucks, it's and ironically everyone was saying this, but there was something aired on AEW the week after, and it was extremely eerily similar
Yeah,
to, I mean, almost to a T,
yeah.
what I did to a T, minus the teeth maybe. And even people online were like, "Oh, like what the hell is this?" And I was like, "It's okay. That's what they do. It's totally fine." But it sucks. I'm chock full of ideas. Like I have so many ideas, and I just need the platform to tell the story.
Doing that angle, that situation, that breakdown, something that's so, let's face it, real, personal, at that moment, and even after that moment, when you're like, actually, like you said, you're going through a bad spot in your wrestling career, your life, things you're thinking about in your head.
Mhm.
Do you sit and look at pro wrestling and think to yourself, what is my life without pro wrestling?
Yes. Yes.
What do you say?
For me, like, what do I see in my life without pro wrestling?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Hmm.
And it's sad. It's really sad. I was on Busted Open
Mm-hmm.
shortly after that,
Right.
and Bully asked me specifically. He said, would you risk not having children for the sake of pro wrestling? And it was something along the lines, very heavy what he asked me, and I
Hmm.
said I would. I would, and because I always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to get married and do all those things. And there's that part of me that's very like I I'm aware of real life first. I always tell people that you got to put your real life first.
Sure.
But my life has been so revolved around wrestling that it's almost like I really don't know what I would do without it. Like I even as a fan,
Sure.
even if I wasn't wrestling, like I still watch it as a fan and I mark out. I don't give a shit. I wear my Cody Rhodes jacket every day. I have my little Cody hanging right there. I got Lita on my wall. I got a Hardy Boys freaking shelf full of figures. Like I'm a fan. I don't care, like, but it's it's just my life, and I've met, my loving boyfriend through wrestling, and I have a lot of really, really great friends that I met through the business. But for me, I don't, this is going to sound really heavy,
Hmm.
but I am forever scared of future me and how I will feel if I don't make it. If I'm 45 and I don't have kids, and I don't think I would let this happen, but 45, don't have kids, don't have the things that I wanted after achieving wrestling. I'm really scared of what that looks like, what that feels like, what that pain is like, and I don't want that to be part of my story. I cut a promo a couple months ago, and in that promo I said I don't want to be, and this is really shitty, so I'm sorry to anyone listening if this is offensive. I don't mean to be at all, I swear. But I said I don't want to be a 30-year vet that didn't make it.
Yeah.
That's not my story. I don't see that for me. But yeah, it's heavy.
I get it. No, it's look, it's reality, it's truth. And let's face it, it's scary. It is scary. There's no guarantees, as we all
No.
know. This business is pretty fucking crazy.
Oh yeah.
The scary part, like when I stopped promoting, when I closed up shop in 02, I
Mhm.
literally walked away and I didn't watch wrestling for 20 years.
Wow. I believe it. Yeah.
Because as you mentioned earlier, you start getting that bitter feeling, and I was bitter and I was angry and I couldn't watch it. It just it hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And then I just started watching a few years ago again, and then it's like the mafia. It brings you fucking get drawn back in. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So now you're working on, after the breakdown, the rebirth. And you had the match with Tessa. Now you just had a match with Indy Hartwell a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you're now, and it's not a thing too that's very important is you're not just that person in New Jersey like, oh, we got a name coming in, let's have him work Vicky. You're being drawn all over the place now.
Yeah. It took a long time to get to this point. I got some really exciting things coming up the end of the month. It comes and goes, like last June I was at TNA and haven't been back, but like I said, got some things working on here, but it pulls you in different directions. There's a point in time where you're wrestling the same people over and over again,
Sure.
which is fine because we're in our bubble and we love each other. But I think for a lot of us women, especially out in my area, it's a little frustrating, because you want to test yourself, you want to get better, and I found myself, to no mock of anyone at all, of course, but when you're wrestling either at your level constantly or below it, you're never getting better.
Yeah.
So that's the bubble that I was kind of stuck in for a while, and starting to like break out of that little by little. I'm just like, oh, oh, let's
Mhm.
go. And testing myself and showing myself what I'm really truly capable of and what I know I'm capable of. Yeah.
It's excuse me. It's
Okay.
so exciting too. Like when you're in the ring, and like you said, you get in there with Tessa and you learn some things. When it's like when you get that eye-opening moments and you learn those things, it's like I remember in my first year or two, and I'm getting in there with like veterans, and I'm like, I was part of a tag team, and I'm like, oh shit, that's how that works. All right, like I get it. It's like so exciting. It's like, all right, I learned something today.
I literally said that to Missy when I came through the curtain because I saw her. I was crying. I saw Missy and Darius were sitting there, and I was just like crying hysterical. I was just like, I learned so much, like but like I was just so happy because it's like just having a match like that and
Yeah,
and feeling yourself. You feel good about yourself, but
sure.
I never get ahead of myself. I'll never have a big head. I'll never be anything like that because this is just the beginning now, like for me, it took 7 years, but this is just the beginning now when you're starting to get those marquee matches and those opportunities to really showcase, what I can do.
Okay, here's a weird question for you because it's so different back when I was coming up and all and going through wrestling school and everything. Like when I went to wrestling school, there was two of us. That was my class. It was me and somebody else. And then the next class was one person. It was Steve Richards. Like it was like
Awesome.
one at a time coming
Mhm.
through.
Yeah.
But now it's like dozens at a time.
Oh
And
God. Yeah.
there's so many on the indie scene. And like as I was going through your stuff today, like getting stuff for questions, so I'm seeing like girl shows out the wazoo
Yeah.
where it's like dozens and dozens of girls, and then you got the guy show. It's just, and you see it up with the WWE. They have all the different stages and so
Yep.
much talent. It's amazing to me just how many people are trying to get into the business, because 35 years ago when I was getting in, it was like two people.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's a great problem, but it also oversaturates and it makes the chase harder, it makes getting looked at harder.
sure,
Which is fine, it's a challenge accepted and whatnot, but we have a lot of women's promotions coming out now, which are great. Like Missy with Bell to Bell, she was like, "Hey,
absolutely.
I want women to have a safe space, and I'm going to give them that." Tommy Fierro, who's my number one ISPW, is my home. He same thing. He's starting this girl power thing. It's
It's funny.
very
I've known Tommy since he was a kid.
yeah, I love it. Oh,
It's fun. It's
Tommy's
so
my
funny.
Tommy's
I
like
love
my big
Tommy.
brother. He
Love
takes
Tommy.
care of me. Um, but yeah, it's cool to see. It's like, hey, I gotta work harder. I gotta work harder. I gotta work harder because I really gotta stand out. In a mix of a lot of talented men, a lot of talented women who just more, like you said, more and more just keep rolling. And I'm like, who the hell is that now? I'm like, where'd she come from? She looks awesome. It's like, like it's just, but it's cool. It really is cool. No matter what happens, it's very refreshing to see, especially for the women.
All right, let me put you on the spot.
Uh-oh.
Who is your favorite person to work with?
My favorite person to work with.
In the ring, yeah.
Well, I would say Tessa, but I only worked her once. But that was awesome in all the ways. Oh my god. So I wrestle a lot of the same people.
That's what I mean. So who's the one that you?
So I'm gonna have to go with Mimi, Notorious Mimi, because we came up together and we've wrestled each other like freaking 1,000 times. When we were green, when she went away to NXT, I was like, who am I gonna wrestle now? But she's been like, she's like we always say, joke, the Trish to my Lita. Like, she's very, we just know each other. Even over the years we've evolved, and our move sets have changed, and we still just get in the ring. Yeah, whatever. Like, honestly, we probably could call a match in the ring. Like, we probably could, but we don't, because we're both psychopaths. But psychopath perfections. But I would have to say her, just because we've done it so many times, and it gets better every time we have a match. It just gets better and better and better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who's your dream match?
It was Tessa, so thank you. Forever and always, I'm gonna go Charlotte, because
Really?
she is just another one up there that I'm just like why can't I be that? Like, she's to me, when I look at her, I'm just like, yeah, she's a superstar. Yeah, she's royalty. Yeah, she's regal. She's yep, checks every box. But I've always wanted to work her. And
Okay.
and Rhea's a close second, because
She's awesome.
Rhea is, if I was a young girl watching now, she's my Lita of this generation.
Yeah.
She's just awesome. She's different. She's cool. She's hot. She's all the things. She's a great worker. So I would love to mix it up with her, and I would love the contrasting style with us, because I have a little edge to me. So I would love to kind of have that dynamic.
How about I say this about this person, Liv Morgan. I say she is the modern day Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, she does not get enough credit for being the workhorse. She's a workhorse.
Yeah.
She, same thing, elevates everyone she's in the ring with. She busts her ass. She's really good at putting other people over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she deserves everything she got in the last year or two, because she really does. She puts everybody over. Absolutely. And she's very good at it.
All right, let's run through. So we got people commenting. Magic Mike. What's up, Chubby and Vicky? It's Grady.
Hey, see?
Mike says, Vicky and yourself, Bay, are my heroes. After what you both did for me when I had my emergency appendix surgery, I love you both.
Of course, man.
I didn't do nothing, Mike. You did it all.
Oh, that was so cool.
How did that happen? Oh, shit.
What the hell?
Wait a minute. Does that work for me, too? Wait a minute. Okay. I don't have a good heart. Come on. That's not fair.
That's so weird. There should be an Italian one.
It's, yeah, right? Oh, I saw earlier something. I saw like a thumb floating by her head. I'm like, what the hell was that? Yeah, see?
What is happening?
I don't know.
Technology is so freaking weird, man. What is happening? Anyway.
All right. Gianni says, good evening, everyone. Vicky, you were awesome at One and Done.
Thank you.
Let's see. Herb says the coat hanger elbow. Best move in wrestling.
Hell yeah. Oh, God.
Michelle, she says, what's up, Bay and Vicky? This Jewish girl always calls it sauce until I met a certain someone and told me it was gravy. Let's see. Gianni says, it was my pleasure. About the magazine. Tim Mendeville in the house. Hello.
Hey.
Michelle says, "Oh my God, Vicky, I did the same thing to my brother. Laugh out loud for talking trash about wrestling."
See, that was probably when she kicked him. Yep, I got you.
Gigolo Joe Zanoli, referee Joe. He says, "Don't dare
Hey,
say sauce in South Philly."
yeah, whatever.
Michelle, I'm a Northeast Philly Jewish girl. Laugh out loud. Gianni, I was a big Hardy Boys fan and still am.
Hell yeah, I met them. Well, I met them a bunch of times, but fun fact, was able to tell them um last year how I really feel about them and had a really heartfelt moment, and that is awesome.
Isn't it so like Hardy Boys? You grew up. They ended up being Hardy Boys and Lita. They were your heroes. They were your everything. They were your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. And then you're like on shows with them and sharing moments with them. How
coolest
weird
thing.
And cool is that?
Coolest thing in the world. Nothing beats when for years I've been tagging Matt Hardy because he was always my, like, I love the both, but I do the side effect because of, Matt Hardy,
Right.
And there was no better feeling than, not having met him in person in years and, going to TNA in the locker room and him being like, "Hey, Vicky," and giving me a big hug. I was like, I'm dead. I'm deceased. I'm like, this is my, and it just made my whole day. And,
oh shit!
And then I was able to tell him and Jeff a couple months later or something like that about how I felt towards them and thanked them for everything. And Missy, had hooked some stuff up with me meeting Lita again and, getting to talk to her too. So very cool. Meet your heroes and take the damn pictures.
Yeah, it was funny. I think it was literally like the first weekend I moved to Nashville. A buddy of mine from the music business, from doing a music podcast, he calls me up. He's like, "Yo, I'm in from Vegas." He's like, "I'm like helping manage Jeff Hardy. We're doing an appearance at this dive bar. Come on out." And I went out and was hanging out with them for the night. It was pretty wild.
Oh, cool.
All right, Gianni says, "My first memory of wrestling was seeing Hillbilly Jim on TV.
Oh,
years
wow.
later, King of the Ring 98, Hell in a Cell 98.
Yes.
I mean, come on. That stuff's classic.
King of the Ring 98.
Kyle Thomas. Hey, everyone. Hope all is good. What's up, Kyle?
Hi, Kyle.
Gianni. CAP. CAP is Brian Myers School, right?
Yes. So CAP New York is Brian Myers and Pat Buck, and CAP New Jersey is where I trained. That's Pat Buck, and now it's really ran by Sean Donovan and LSG.
Falaba? Did I say that right? From
yes.
GTS?
He was in Impact too.
Okay.
Yeah, for a while. When it was TNA, when it was Impact.
Kyle says, sauce is tomato sauce, barbecue, aioli, etc. Gravy is what you get from the pub. Kyle's over in Europe. So pepper, mushroom, Diane, and garlic. I guess he needs content. If you say so, Kyle.
I'm not going to argue with
you. Vicky, you got the stuff. I can see it.
Thank you.
Jeannie's in the house. She says it was a great match, talking about you and Tessa. She was at One and Done.
Thank you, Jean.
Michelle says, my favorite match of the night. Also, you and Tessa. Mike says, that was my first show back at, I guess, Pro Wrestling Magic. Amazing. Vicky is a great champion.
Oh, that was probably when I had the breakdown. Yep. Thanks, Mike.
Mike caused the breakup. Let's just face it. It was all his fault.
Yeah.
Let's blame him. Pro Wrestling Magic breakdown is on IWTV.
Yes, it is.
Missy's in the house.
Hey.
Vicky's amazing. Bay's great
Love
too.
You, Missy. I'll give her hearts. Yeah.
Missy's awesome.
Yes,
I'm like so proud of her. She came so like. I think I first met Missy. She was like 15, coming to ECW shows.
Incredible.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't see her for years, and then I went to the Trent Asset Memorial Show, and she worked a match. I went to her afterwards. I'm like, how the fuck did you learn to do that? What happened? Where'd that come from? I was blown away.
Aw, I love it.
Gianni says, any chance of Vicky being booked for WWE Evolution?
I don't know. Let me just call upon her real quick.
He's on speed dial. Call him up.
Yeah.
Did she ever want to work with Lita?
Yes, I would love to be her. Yeah, no, my ultimate bucket list is to do something in ring. Doesn't have to be a match, but something, a segment, something with Lita. Obviously, just her, and something with the Hardys. Like it has to happen. The Hardys are more attainable because they're
Yeah.
on TV. But like before I die, I need to juke with the Hardy Boys on television. That's my goal. Right. That's my number one goal. Number two was show Lita my tattoo, but she saw it. So
I was gonna say, okay, so you have a tattoo of Lita on your neck, you said?
I have like her name, like Lita, like the name, yeah.
Okay. And when you met her and showed her, what did she say?
She was like, "Oh, that's so cool. Can I take a picture?" I was like, "Yes." I was like, "Please do." I met her once in 2013 at an indie show. I didn't show her the tattoo because I was shit scared. And then I met her at the con at 2300 Arena. What the heck's it called? Oh my god.
The old Icons.
Yes, it was that. I was there signing, so I went up to her table and I was like, "Hey," you know. And then again, a couple months ago with Missy, and we did something with her, so I got to see her again, which was more intimate at that time. But
Gianni says it's salsa.
we're still doing this.
Of course. It never dies. Never dies. Missy says, "Love you both.
Love you. Thumbs up. Do it."
Whoa! What the hell is that?
I don't know.
How come your half of the screen has all this fucking power,
This
and
is so cool.
I got nothing going over here?
This is so cool. Oh my god.
That's wild. Missy says, "I was 16, laugh out loud."
Oh, add a year.
And Mike says, "Nurse on Raw."
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I gave Jay Uso a bag of ice on WWE television, and it made headlines somehow. I don't know why. But
Was that before or after the breakdown?
after.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
See that? You
I was like, why is this making headlines? Nurse revealed on WWE. I was like, I've been wrestling 7 years. Nobody talked about me. All of a sudden, I hand James to a big ice. It was awesome, though. I'm not, it's funny. I'm not taken away from it. It's just funny.
It is. I mean, it is. I mean, I do remember exactly what that said. It said "nurse revealed," and I'm like, what?
I was like, I was a medic, and I am a real medic. Well, I was a real medic, so it's not like I'm lying.
That's hysterical. Oh boy. Well, Vicky, thank you so much for doing this. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing your arrival somewhere at some point, at some time on my TV.
Yeah. Matter of time. It's a long time in the making, but we're feeling it. We're feeling things are growing. So
I want to say, like, tip me off so I don't like have a heart attack and get shocked. but on the other hand, I want to say, don't let me go down that road.
Yeah, you're not gonna have a heart attack. You're good. We're gonna experience everything in real time.
Okay, well, you don't know this. A year ago, I had 5 heart attacks. So
no,
you never know.
No more.
You never know.
No more. No more.
All
right, maybe I'll tell you. No.
Let me know. All right, where should we send everybody to check you out, follow you?
Yeah, check me out on Instagram. I am at the Bad Chick Vic. And then on Twitter, it's at Vicious Vicky. And YouTube, I think it's at Vicious Vicky as well, because I try to post what I can on there. Yeah, and then Facebook, if you find me, you find me. It's Vicky Andriola. Facebook has that new follow feature, so it's not as bad as it used to be. So
just type in Vicky equals gravy.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, Magic Mike asked another one. Ask her about John Cena.
Like my feelings towards John Cena. Well, I love John Cena. When he broke up with the WWE Universe, I felt personally attacked, and I felt like I was being broken up with, and I was in literal tears. Also, I'm a huge Cody Rhodes mark, and I have been before it was cool to like Cody Rhodes, talking about OVW days. So I was very heartbroken, but John Cena is John Cena. He's John Cena. He's John frickin' Cena. He can do whatever he wants, and I'm following along. And all jokes aside, I think it's really awesome. I think it's brilliant. I think all his promos have been brilliant. I love the black and white.
Yeah.
I'm vibing with it. I'm vibing with it.
How funny and easy is it for just to start singing John Cena sucks?
I know.
It just
I didn't
works
think
so great.
and John Cena versus Randy Orton was not on my bingo card at all for ever in the foreseeable future. So when that happened, I was like, what is happening? I'm happy about it, but it was very like, holy shit.
Was Cody's return the other night on your bingo card?
No, I was hoping he would disappear for a little bit longer. But you need him. You do. There's certain aspects you need him, but I was hoping we just not forgot about him, but just he was gone for a while. I think a breakdown would have been good, but we did need him to kind of come back and clean things up. So I'm happy he's back, and he was sporting that jacket. I love that freaking jacket. I'm so happy. That's $100 I ever spent.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Vicky, thank you so much.
You're
it was
welcome.
Amazing meeting you. I'm glad I got to give you your dream match, and
Yes.
I hope there's many more dream matches in your future. And I look forward to continuing to watch the rise and see news revealed of whoever you may end up being.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions, comments, etc. If you haven't already, for some strange, odd reason, I'm not going to tell you to go out and get some gravy. I'm going to tell you to like, love, follow, and subscribe to whatever platform you're watching on. I love you all. Until next time, see ya.